Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the studio. Make sure we're live, and I am absolutely going to check my audio because this one time I did this and I didn't have any audio, and that wasn't really very fun. So, welcome to the studio. We're good. We're 100% good. Okay. Hi, guys. Happy New Year. It's so good to see you. I know I'm going to have some new families where this is your first weekly video that you're getting. I know I also have some families that you're like, Allison, I talk to you every Monday morning. Tell me what's going on. So, welcome to my new people. Happy New Year, and welcome back to all my veteran experts. We are excited to get going with the spring semester. So, this is our video where we talk about everything that these kids are learning in classes every single week. So, this is a chance for me to, I don't have any today, but to show some in progress work, to show actually what's inside some of the journals that happened in drawing class, and just to give you an idea, not only of what we did last week, where we're going, and what the plan is for the week ahead, and then we do some housekeeping things where we talk like large studio-wide community and what's happening there. Okay, so if you're new here, I do them live on Monday mornings. Very few people catch them live. That's okay. I email it out to all of my registered artists, so it'll come to you in an email. Most people get it in an email. I also post it to our social media channels, so our Facebook group, our Twitter page, and our Instagram stories. So you can find it there. And then once you catch the recording, you have the advantage of not having to watch the entire video, which you are always welcome to do. However, they are timestamped by section. And I just tell people, make sure you watch the intro, make sure you watch the section that's about your kiddo's class, and then watch the housekeeping. It's just a couple of minutes of things that are on my mind, right? So it might be a program that's coming up. I want to let people know. It might be a deadline, it might be an event. Sometimes it's yeah. Anyways, lots of different things. All right. So we're going to dive right in. I gotta move my mouse. There we go. Everybody has class this week. It's week 1 of January. That's the other thing we talk about in these videos is if there's anything going on in the schedule where somebody's going to have a day off, we don't want you to make a trip to the studio and waste your time, okay? Because you don't have class. But this week, you don't have to worry about it. Every single person has class this week. So if you're signed up for classes, you're coming. Let's go through preschool fundamentals. So it is January. It is our month where we look at light and dark and explore the concept of contrast. We're going to get to read the wild things in week 1 and have a wild rumpus. We do a landscape drawing in this class on chalk with black paper and chalk pastels, and then we make crowns. So if you're familiar with the book, Max wears a crown. So we decorate our crowns and have a wild rumpus and make some landscapes. The preschool room is black light all month long. So we'll have the lights off in there and all of the glowing stuff happening in our preschool classroom. And then freight train is next week, and then flashlight is the last week. For our K-thirds multimedia, so I don't have anything to show. So this is the beginning of our multimedia section. Normally I have like in progress work that I could pull out of the cubbies and kind of show you where we're at in the stages of our project. Our multimedia classes are a 4-time-a-month class. And over the course of those 4 weeks, we explore a medium. That's the stuff that you use to make art, right? So whether it's charcoal or acrylic paint or watercolors or fiber arts, that's the media. So we're going to explore a medium or multiple media. We're going to learn about contemporary and historic famous artists who use that media or explore the subject matter that we're going to be exploring. And we're going to get a chance to make our own art. So we do everything from inspiration, conception, thumbnail sketching, playing with materials to an actual execution of an art piece. So that takes us 4 weeks to get done. Our kindergartners, our first graders, and our second graders, and our third graders, who are all in the multimedia class in January, are going to be looking at abstract art. So some of these, like Moreau here, is like early 20th century. Some of these are contemporary. This is Heather Day. She's a contemporary artist. This is Jackson Pollock. Some of you guys might know Jackson Pollock. This one's contemporary as well. So we're going to look at some different artists and the art that they make and talk about abstract art. We want to look at shapes and we want to look at colors. We want to look at movement. We want to look at texture. We want to look at the marks that people make. So we're gonna spend some time looking at that because their project this month is a large scale abstract acrylic painting. So any of my parents have kids in these classes, we're gonna be wearing old art clothes to the studio, not just tops, bottoms too. A lot of our kiddos will work on the floor, at least for the first step, which is this week where we paint the entire background like a doesn't have to be a solid color, but it's got to be completely covered. They'll use colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So your analogous colors. So we'll pick colors that are friends so they don't make brown. And we'll put them all on the background of our picture for our first step. But since we're down on the floor and we're working with acrylic paint and we're working big, we want to make sure that we are in stuff that we can get paint on. That is not our goal. The goal is not to leave with paint all over us, but it does happen. So we don't want to ruin those brand new outfits that you got for Christmas. So please make sure you wear art close to the studio. Okay. So first step in the project, like I said, is to get that first coat of paint on our abstract paintings. Now I do have notes. So I do need to look at them just a second and make sure that I've got it all figured out. Okay, I do. I do. All right, for my fourth and fifth in my homeschool classes, they're also doing acrylic paints. The way our studio works is everybody in the multimedia classes are going to be working with the same media. That doesn't mean that they're painting the same thing or making the same thing, but they are like that way. It's easier for our instructors and our room setup if we're all kind of using the same supplies. So, fourth and fifth in homeschool, also acrylic painting, but their subject is different. It is not an abstract subject, but rather a pet or an animal portrait. We say pet or animal because something like over here, this is Franz Marx, and it's his yellow cow. Not typically there's another cow, not typically a pet. However, really great portrait. So these are the contemporary artists, right? This is Paul, no, is that Paul Clay? It might be Clay. No, Moreau. No, it's Clay. Paul Clay. But anyways, we're gonna look at all of the different arts and examples of portraiture. We're going to talk a lot about composition and making sure that we're getting, just shoulders and up and what a portrait is. They'll have to pick their subject. So that's a big step for our first week of class. After we look at all the different examples, is for them to brainstorm what their subject could be. This is not the type of studio that you come to and we're all painting that dog. And then the instructor stands up there and says, okay, everybody, take your white paint and paint this shape right in the middle. Now paint 2 triangles for blue ears, and then everybody leaves with a painting looks the same. That is not us. But rather, we're going to look at a bunch of different art, and they're going to think, what could my animal be? And then we're going to find a reference photo. It could be a Google image or a Canva image photo that we'll search up for them in the classes. It can be something that they bring in from home. Okay, so it's really up to them for their pictures. If it's something like it's my dog Fluffy, it's something I can't find on Google Images. We do ask that we have a printed picture of that. Not everybody has a home printer. There is in your email where this video comes, there's a link where you can send us your picture. And it's a Google form. That helps me keep things straight. So we fill out the Google form and then upload your photo to it. And that way I can print it and get it into the right class cubby for the kiddos since they have it. Okay. If you have questions about that, just send me a message, right? And we'll figure it out. And a lot of our older kids might have a phone and then they've got it on their phone and they can especially not this age group, but some of my really older ones like to work right from their phone. I guess it makes me old that I want a paper printout of it, but we prefer a paper printout. If they have it on their phone, we'll figure out how to get it off their phone and get it to the printer so that we can have that. And then we'll just keep it with their artwork. Okay. All right. So in our first week, we're going to look at all these contemporary animal portraits and historic animal portraits, brainstorm the subject, and paint our background color. We don't necessarily need the photo this week for the first week. However, if they have it, that's nice. It doesn't mean that they have to. Okay. We'll start sketching next week. For my 6th, 7th, and my 8th, 12th multimedia classes, we are doing altered paintings. So these guys are going to be working on an 8x10 canvas panel. And we're going to be taking images that already exist in magazines. And then we're going to alter them using acrylic paints. And so this is, her name's Naomi. our Instagram handles, Madika Coda. All of these are going to be contemporary artists who do this. It's got a very surrealistic and dreamlike feeling to them, so it's a fun one to get to do. It also requires a little bit of problem solving and a lot of detailed brushwork in order to make it work. So we're excited to see what they can do. This was a project we did last year and it was a big hit, so we're repeating it again this year. We usually keep our projects on no more than 2 years, so this one will cycle off next year and we'll see something different. There are a couple exceptions to that that are just like annual favorites and they're never going to leave. But this one will cycle off next year. We'll figure out a different acrylic painting one for the big kids, but this is this year's. For the first week in class, the biggest thing will be understanding the project and finding their base image. And then we will get that adhered to the Canvas panel. They might do some underpainting and some priming, but it really just depends on timing. Like how long does it take for them to find that image? Who knows? Okay. Okay. My creative explorations class. So this is now we're switching gears. We're out of multimedia. We're into creative explorations. This is a 3-time-a-month class. It takes all the curriculum from the entire studio for the month and kind of puts it into a station-based learning environment. So we're going to take, for instance, the acrylic painting that all of our multimedia classes are doing, and we're going to put it into a station where the kids can paint small little pictures and put them up in a gallery, right? There isn't a lesson necessarily. There's not any instructor like I'm going to talk and y'all are going to listen. There's not that. They could just go and create with the supplies that are there in that station. Our art history for the month is Monet. We've got a journal invitation, so that's always set up kind of in the quieter area. We're going to cut paper snowflakes. Collaborative vertical surface is a winter landscape. The sensory pulls from preschool here. We've got some black and white Play-Doh, as well as the still life drawing, which is shadow tracing, also pulls from our preschool classes. So station-based learning, child-led and directed, and then the instructor is a facilitator in the room. And these are our stations for January. Drawing 101. Now I got no images and I got nothing to show, but I am going to talk a lot about just drawing classes in general, because I do know I've got some new people. So just kind of as an overview for drawing classes in general, our Drawing 101 and our Drawing 102 classes are lesson-based curriculum, meaning unlike the multimedia classes where we are leading after 4 weeks, we are leaving with a project. Our Drawing 101s and our 102 will not do that. The only month that they make a project is in March, and that's only because it's an art show month where we prepare a piece for the art show. Otherwise, we are always doing lessons and we're always working in our sketchbooks. So this is the sketchbook that our drawing kids get. Multimedia kids also get a sketchbook, but it's smaller because this is where we maybe do some idea sketches, we do some thumbnails, we maybe take some notes, and we maybe free draw with some extra time. But not a lot of work is done in the journals, but in our drawing classes, all the work is done in the journal. So this is the journal. It is a 9 by 12 inch journal. And this one is brand new, so it doesn't have a design on the cover, but the kids will get to design their covers, get their names on them, that kind of stuff. And then we flip the page and the lesson is done here. Once the lesson is done, they get a lesson label. So this is an example of the label for this week's Drawing 101 class. It is on sticker paper this year, which is super fun. So it just peels off and then this gets stuck to the back of that page. It's a great way to organize it, almost in like a portfolio sense. It's also a really great resource for you parents. So when you see the book, you have a jumping off point for asking questions, right? And you're not starting from nothing and trying to, have a discussion about what's going on this page. So you're going to see in here, you're going to see the lesson title, you're going to see the media that we use, and then you're going to see a description of the lesson and the objectives or goals for that lesson and what we were looking for. Okay, so just so you know, that's what happens. In a lot of our classes, the lessons aren't necessarily finished drawings. They are just, they're just started. In our 102 level, because of that, we always have a wild card week in week 4, which allows us to go back and work on a drawing that we were really into or really inspired, and hopefully we can finish at least one of them a month. All right. Also in drawing classes, one thing to note is these stay here in the studio. So we don't take them home and then bring them back. We used to, And then we had a hard time always getting them back for classes because it was one more thing for parents to have to remember or kids to remember to bring. So it's just easier if we leave them here. But it is not a secret what happened in class in our journals. And so when your kid leaves the classroom, instructors always say, you know, if you want to take your journal out and show your parents, you absolutely can. So they can come out, show you what they did. You can look through it, whatever you want to do. When you're done, there's a drop box in the lobby. Just drop it in, and we'll take care of getting it back into the class cubby for you guys. So that's how that works for all of our drawing 101s and drawing 102s. My 103 classes are a project-based class, so they do actually finish a project. Once you get to that 7th through 12th grade, we figure you've already heard enough lessons and you've done enough of these. We're ready to put them in practice. All right, so let's talk through the different levels. Starting with drawing 101, we have a really playful, imaginative lesson to start off our year. We are going to be drawing a machine. So it works on the powers of observation. This class does like pictures in our brains that we draw. And it also does pictures from life, right? So we look at something right in front of us and draw it. And then we look at photographs and we draw. So all types of different drawing. This one is one from life, but it has a little bit of novelty and playfulness with it. We're going to have a series of kitchen instruments. So things like whisks and potato ricers and, you know, like mashers. Obviously, I've got potatoes on the brain because I like potatoes, you guys. But all of those fun kitchen utensils, we're going to have a selection of those, and then they will practice drawing them because that's where we look at something from life and we draw it. And then the imaginative part comes where we draw them into some sort of arrangement that looks like a machine. So it can do something. So we're putting things together into building blocks. We're also going to learn how to note movement. So how do you illustrate movement in a drawing? So it'll be a fun one. I think it's a good, like, easy one to start off the year. Nobody gets frustrated because they can't make it look like what the photograph is supposed to look like or something like that. Okay, so lots of great lines and mark making that we could do on that. Okay. And they're using markers for that. The advanced realistic class. So when we get to 102 level, this is our a little bit older. So it's a 90-minute class. We have an advanced realistic and we have an illustrative option. Both great classes, just kind of two different challenges that we put out to these guys. So 102 advanced realistic, the whole month is going to be about the human figure. So we're on to drawing people and bodies. So this first one is drawing from photograph. This class especially does photograph, life, and imagination every single month. And so this one's from photograph. We've got black and white photographs of dancers, ballerina dancers, contemporary dancers that really show the figure and the form. And we're going to be working on drawing them. So a lot of proportions, you know, how many heads high is a typical figure? Where does the arm bend, right? It doesn't bend here. Doesn't bend here. It only bends here. And how things can bend and rotate. So we'll work on drawing that. And then in the subsequent weeks, we'll get into drawing from life where the kids actually get to take turns being a model and fun things. So it's a great month. For our 102 illustrative, they are focusing on creating a land, a place, or a world that has personality. In December, we worked on interior spaces and we taught the rules of linear perspective. In January, we're going to be looking in the outside world. So we're not in an interior room, we're outside. And there are still rules of perspective. They're called atmospheric perspective. And we'll look at how those apply to our drawings. We're going to start very zoomed out in our illustrative classes. Unlike where I give my realistic people a photo and say, draw this, my illustrated people don't have that. A big part of their class is also coming up and imagining their own worlds and their own original ideas. So we're going to be creating an original landscape or an original world for them. They'll start very zoomed out. Picture like Tolkien's map, right? And imagining this world from a zoomed out point of view. And as we get through the month, we're going to zoom in and we'll actually get down to streetscape and I say streetscape, but I mean, we're not on a street necessarily, but we could be. We could also be on a path or in a forest, but actually in like a first person viewpoint. Okay. All right. I think that's it. For my 103s, right? So it's a new month, so it's a new project. 103 Advanced Realistic is going to be doing a modern still life. We're going to look at some contemporary artists who do a really great job of kind of updating the idea of what that bowl of fruit sitting on a table looks like. And we're going to work on drawing that. They will get to use a medium that they don't normally get to use, and that is alcohol ink markers, but we're going to try to use them in the most realistic way possible. So lots of layering, possibly as a base layer for colored pencils on top, and then super highly concentrated, like saturation color is the goal. For my 103 illustrative, they continue their study of contemporary and historical illustrators. I got to look it up. This month, they're going to be looking at Dr. Seuss and really focusing on the animal characters in the stories. And so they will be developing their own original Seussical style animals and interacting with a kind of a rhythmic pattern background that is like stylistically known as a Dr. Seuss kind of background. Okay. All right, in our housekeeping. So I have a note here, 2026 spring enrollment. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you are probably enrolled in classes, unless you just found me on YouTube, which is also cool. But you're probably enrolled in classes. So this is not a reminder to get set up. This is just a little bit about what the enrollment is. And so there were two ways to enroll. You could either enroll for the entire semester and you pay by semester. And for those of you who did that, you are good and you don't need to worry about anything. Okay. The other way that you could have done it is a monthly tuition. You are still enrolled for the entire semester. However, you are paying your tuition monthly. And if you're doing that, you're going to get charged on the 1st of every month. Your next charge is February 1st for your February tuition. If you need to cancel this enrollment, you can do that. That is the advantage of a monthly tuition payment enrollment versus a semester one. Is that you can cancel at any time. We do ask that you let us know by the 20th of the month, and that way we can cancel your billing and adjust. We don't adjust staffing. Staffing doesn't change, but we do adjust our supply order. If our class is full, it gives us time to pull somebody off of the wait list. So we do ask that you let us know by the 20th if you are not returning for the next month. Otherwise, we've got your spot held for you, and we plan on you being there. Okay. All right. Save the date, everybody. May 3rd. Save the date. That's our art show. It's going to be awesome. It's at the Belvoir Winery again. And for those of you who have been to the art show in the past couple of years, you know it's a huge event. Everybody comes. It's big. So we'll do the same thing again where we have most of the winery booked out, although not private event. I mean, because I love when people just show up and they're like, what's going on? And then they come to an art show. So, but we would love to have you for the art show. Every single Orange Easel student is invited to put a piece in the show. Okay. And as we get closer to time, we'll talk about the process for doing that. I will say this year, for those of you who are not new, this year, the deadline, obviously the show is 1 week back. There weren't any April dates that were available. So the show is 1 week back, but the deadline got pushed up like a week. And that's because last year I did the programs, remember? And I printed them all myself, and I did not enjoy that process. So I would like to be able to send them out to Vistaprint and get them done. And because of that, I need entries finalized a little bit earlier. That's why. All right, here we go. Summer Sneak Peek is coming up. Those of you who have been looking ahead and thinking, gosh, some of these places are already enrolling for summer camp. I promise we always are thinking about it. The catalog is finalized, and it's like in the works in terms of descriptions and graphics, and all of that stuff is still coming. But there is a sneak peek happening next week. So starting on Monday to our email subscribers, Monday through Friday, there will be one email a day where we peek behind the curtain and link to a page on the website where you can see summer stuff. So as those pages become available, then they go live. If you want those emails, you have to sign up for them. So I don't just email my entire mailing list. I assume that unless you've told me you want this, you don't. So if you are interested in those, let me know by subscribing to the sneak peek. The link will be in this email. There is an early bird coupon on Friday, so you might want those emails. That's it. That's all I have, you guys. So we're ready for a great school year. If anybody needs anything from me, most of you know this, best way to reach me, email, Facebook message, right? If you call the studio, the phone's on silent, so make sure you leave a message so that I call you back. All right. Have a great one, and I will